The presiding officer at the time, the deputy Senate president, said, look, it was remarkable how unanimous the senators were on that matter. And do we also add the fact that they said that the House of Reps had been, what was the word, perhaps angling to call for but they didn't. Good. Now it turns out that the Senate beat them to it.
Okay. So you see, it's like a groundswell of opinion. You know, literally everybody is working towards that direction. Even though at that point in time, it was like the presidency, for some reason, you know, or for whatever reason, felt that it should be kept in abeyance and all of that. But it's almost like everybody is looking for it, and the time for it has come, and that is why they are asking for it.
Well, what do you think is going to happen when it eventually gets to the Senate and then they look into this? What are your expectations from that?
My expectations are, given the caveat I have given, that if it is not a political facade or some kind of political gerrymandering that they are trying to pull a cotton wool over our eyes for, I will expect a situation where, first and foremost, they will begin to look into the issue of restructuring, which is embedded in that report, in all its ramifications, i.e., revenue allocation, you know, the devolution of power, because the central government is very, very powerful. 68 items on the exclusive list. Marriages and all manners of things that should be handled at the local level. That is why everybody is killing himself to get to Abuja. But by the time the devolution of power exists, I mean, it is enshrined in our structure, or at least constitution, or whatever document is going to be, you now find that the people will be more bothered about what happens in their own area, and they will grow according to their own pace, not again looking at what am I supposed to get from the center, in which case this exclusionist whatever, which is part of what I don't like about our own type of democracy, is the winner takes all. A situation where once you win the election, you call your brothers and sisters, your in-laws and all of that, and they are your personal assistants, your special assistant, chief of staff and all of that. The rest of the people become spectators. I do know that at a point in time when Obama won election, over and above the much criticism he gave to Bush with regard to his foreign policy in the area of defense, fighting too many wars and all of that, he retained his Secretary of Defense.
Do you think the center is ready to let go?
Say that again?
Do you think the center is ready to let go?
The center is not going to let go except circumstance like this has arisen, and it has arisen.
Let me ask you the question people ask me almost all the time, because I keep asking them, look, I said that. They keep asking, are we sure that the acting president has got the backing of the president in all of some of those recommendations? And I said, look, I'll have to wait until we'll ask him. But from what you've seen, you think that is the case?
Let me talk like a lawyer. The acting president is our president. As a matter of fact, the acting president can sit right there and change the chief of army staff, change the defense staff, change the inspector general of police this morning, and it is valid. What you see, because Oshibajo has his own political loyalty and actually has a good working relationship with the president, he tends to consult him on, according to him, on major decisions on virtually everything. Have you imagined the situation where this acting position came to an Atiku where there was an Obasanjo? And an Atiku then was just marginalized by Obasanjo, such that Atiku didn't have anything to do in office as vice president. And this kind of situation came to him, and he doesn't have a good working relationship with his principal. He goes on rampage, does everything he wants to do and all of that. So in other words, I'm quite happy that the acting president is conducting himself the way he is conducting himself, keeping a good working relationship with his boss, and at the same time, you know, doing what is needful.
So let me ask the politician in you as you wind down. How do you deal with a situation where maybe the deputy, of course, always consults with the leader, and the leader tells him, yeah, you could go ahead, you have my backing on this, and then you do something and says, wait a minute, but I'm not too sure you should have done it this particular way. How do you recant or save yourself from that situation?
You see, in the circumstance...
Hypothetical, though.
Yes, hypothetical. But in the circumstance, I want to step it down to, okay, the situation we're also talking about. As it stands now, any consultation that the acting president is doing with the president is for purposes of informal relationship. Informal relationship. the acting president sits down, signs everything that is due for the president to sign, takes every decision that is due, even without recourse to the president. Because you see, not minding all that story about coordinating whatever, which some people smuggled into that whatever, all the Senate required or the National Assembly required was just that letter.
I'm sorry
referencing that section of the Constitution.
Again, but can we really not mind it? Especially when we also had another statement that said, I think they said the president had to write to one of the ministers in order to allow the acting president to sign the 2017 budget. Do we discount all of that?
Well, if it is not at the level of rumor, but if that is what the situation is, still put it in context with what I have said, that if the vice president is doing that kind of, the acting president is doing that kind of thing, he is doing it for purposes of respect, formality, and good working relationship.
And he's backed by law.
And otherwise, he is our president, that the one we see now.
All right, so thank you for coming on, Mr. George Ekeh, a legal practitioner. Well, yes, indeed, we've heard about this part of it, but there are some other things playing a very important too that's got to do with the power sector. Let's get to Mark on that.